This guy comes and goes on a rainbow. They call him the Culture Blaster, the man who covers news. He covers the news of the TV, the movies, the music. He's Michael Snyder. Hi, Michael Snyder.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hi, Mark. Hello, Kim, John,
Yes.
Tony, all the ships
Kim, how are you?
at sea.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Fabulous
Mr.
producer,
and
John
Mrs.
Daly.
Everybody.
America,
Yes.
the entire nation. I'm happy to be here. Regarding certain unimaginable results from the midterm elections,
Yes, sir.
stupid fears and abhors smart. Stupid hates it. And there's a lot of stupid in America, so I think that explains part of that. But
That explains a lot of movies that come out too, Michael.
hey, I know that. But hey, before we go any further, props to all who have dedicated their lives to the defense of freedom. Our simple thanks will never be enough.
That's
you are
so true.
remembered and honored on Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, baby.
And, I may be a hipster weasel. I may be a night crawler and what have you. But I have family connections to the military, and I'm very proud and honored about that. My ex's dad, Colonel Dave, was an advisor to the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Wow, look at you,
Wait,
Michael. Wow.
My
Yeah.
brother, David Snyder, I believe he was a lieutenant commander in the Navy. He was is an Annapolis grad.
What?
That's
Wow.
right. And, what we like to say in the family is he's NATO, I'm boho. That's how we kind of separate the two of us.
Wow, that's impressive.
Before we get any further, I just want to give a caveat because our big review involves a comic book hero. And number one, I love the stuff. I grew up with comic books and animation. I dig the superheroes. I like the indie comics. I like the graphic novels. I like the more serious stuff. I like the funny animals even. But I do want to say one thing. If you're listening today and with comic books in mind, smash it with your Iron Man, okay?
Smash it with your iron rod.
It's very, very cool to know that Michael Snyder is the full breadth of entertainment. It is really true. He's a comic book nerd. He knows the DC universe, the Marvel universe. He knows animation. He knows the serious subtitled, Korean films that he's recommended. You're a full-service reviewer, and that's what I like about you.
Bien sûr, mon ami.
All right.
I know we
All
need
right.
subtitles for that. Look,
Yeah.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the sequel to Marvel Studios' massive 2018 international hit Black Panther, had a problem going into production. As most pop-wise people know, we lost Chadwick Boseman, the gifted actor who played the franchise's iconic central figure, the Black Panther, a.k.a. the super strong, super agile, super smart King T'Challa of the mythical African nation of Wakanda. And rather than recast the character, who, by the way, was created in the 60s by socially conscious white guys, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, rather than recast after such an inimitable and unimpeachable performance as T'Challa in a handful
Yeah, go ahead.
in a handful of Marvel movies, including the Avengers blockbusters, writer-director Ryan Coogler, and here's the sidebar, the Oakland native whose indie hit Fruitvale Station got him rolling and who subsequently brought Wakanda to the screen in Black Panther, he starts his sequel with the off-screen death of the noble and beloved King. Then Coogler shows us the impact of that passing on T'Challa's mother, the Queen, played by Angela Bassett, his tech whiz sister, Shuri, played by Letitia Wright, his honor guard, the Dora Milaje, led by warrior woman Okoye, played by Danae Guerrera, his love interest Nakia, played by Lupita Nyong'o, and other friends and allies. With all the principal actors having played opposite Boseman in the previous Panther movie, the emotion they each bring to the proceedings has to be painfully real, tears and all, and it's up there on the screen, leavening the usual bombast you get from a superhero movie. Although, let's be fair, the action set pieces that occur throughout the movie are thrilling. Anyway, regarding said action, the outer world has been made aware of the once hidden Wakanda, a bastion of super science and the ridiculously valuable near magical element vibranium. And the members of NATO, callback. The members of NATO won in on the technological advances and especially the vibranium, stirring up potential international incidents. Lo and behold, it turns out that there is another hidden nation with its eye on Wakanda, the Atlantis-like underwater kingdom of Talokan, led by its own king, longtime Marvel villain turned anti-hero Namor, who's a super strong guy who can breathe underwater and also has wings on his feet like Mercury, no lie, that allow him to fly. So
Isn't this the Scientology story too? Also,
this is, yes, I believe.
Kind of seems similar. Anyway, go ahead.
Xenu actually handed this review down to me from One High. Anyway, Namor, by the way, Namor's been around since the early 40s in Marvel Comics. He was one of the first mutants and one of the first superheroes ever created. More deep knowledge. I'll move on.
Wow,
Namor
impressive.
knows that Wakanda is leaderless in the wake of T'Challa's death, and with no Black Panther to defend the country, the vultures, and in Talokan's case, the sharks, are circling. Okay, Wakanda Forever asks if a new Black Panther will arise, and if you guess the answer is yes, you need no spoiler alert from me. But who will this Black Panther be? Coogler's world building is astonishing, aided by top-shelf computer artists, well informed by his creativity and his knowledge of Marvel Comics history and characters. And his decision, this is great, Mark, his decision to turn Marvel's Atlantis into Talokan, complete with Mesoamerican cultural trappings, is nothing short of inspired. And it's actually based on a mystical Aztec realm. And the casting of Mexican actor Tenoch Huerta as Namor, the Talokan monarch and nemesis of the surface world, is a coup. He's a fearsome imperial presence who, you know, he's going to be mixing it up with the various heroes and villains of the Marvel universe over the next few years of interconnected movies and TV shows that you will probably not be watching, Mark Thompson. And yes,
I'm not a big fan of the necessarily the genre, but they do a good job with this Wakanda stuff. The actors all went to Boseman's gravesite, says Yvonne. They bonded before the movie. Very classy movie.
It's so evident that they love this guy. And anyway, I want to point out that there are some MCU notables who show up here, including the teen heroine Riri Williams, a.k.a. the future armored heroine Ironheart, played by Dominique Thorne. She has a Disney Plus series coming. And these are more than just prizes in an Easter egg hunt for all of us Marvelites. Wakanda Forever is not as startlingly good as 2018's Black Panther, but all things considered, it's a fitting, power-packed follow-up and a lovely tribute to Boseman without exploiting him or ladling on the syrup, and damned if I didn't miss up at the beginning and the end of Wakanda Forever.
Wow.
In theaters now.
Look at you. Somebody recommended for all of the, I guess, the back and forth with because all of the different peoples who claim. So that's for whoever wanted that. I forget who it was, but there it is.
Nice and insulting.
Manda aka raka. I don't know.
Let's move on to something thoroughly
yes,
American.
Please move on, if you would.
Although nominally fictionalized, the
Yes.
Seriously, what
Fabelmans.
Go ahead. Yes.
The Fabelmans is a very personal, intimate, and somewhat revealing look at filmmaker Steven Spielberg's family life. His roots, his inspirations from his boyhood in the 1950s to the 1960s, and his first foray into a Hollywood career that would mark him as one of the most successful creative forces in the history of motion pictures. His first visit to a movie theater with his parents triggers a desire in suburban kid Sammy Fabelman to get a camera and start making his own films at home. Is the Fabelmans a little familiar in its emotional beliefs and beats? Yes. Do we almost always know in advance what's coming around the bend for young Sammy, who is the Steven stand-in? And for his family, we do. But Spielberg is such an accomplished maestro behind the camera with his impeccable filming and his framing, his timing, his ability to get the most out of his actors, and the script by Spielberg and the award-winning playwright and screen scribe Tony Kushner. It zings and it sings, even when it seems in danger of slipping into cliche. And his actors, oh my God. How about the incredibly versatile Michelle Williams as Sammy's talented but stifled musician mom, Mitzi, and the equally skilled Paul Dano as Sammy's computer genius dad, Bert. They seem incapable of giving bad performances, and applause is definitely due previously unknown Gabriel LaBelle, who plays the pubescent Sammy, the soul of the movie, even if Sammy's mom and dad bring so much heart to the Fabelmans. Plus, there's a very well-executed and surprisingly shaded turn by Seth Rogen as Bert's colleague in the electronics business and a de facto uncle to Sammy and his three sisters. Look, the Fabelmans might not be one of Spielberg's best, he was probably a little too close to the subject matter to make certain hard choices that might have given it a little greater depth. Nonetheless, it has some genuinely moving moments. And in the absence of an actual memoir or autobiography, it tells us a lot about what forged Spielberg's sensibilities and made him a masterful populist filmmaker. The Fabelmans is in theaters.
So I'm getting that you liked it because of the virtuosity of Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker, but you didn't love you felt there was a predictability to the story.
There's a certain conventionality to it. You kind of know what's going to happen.
That's a way to put it.
But be that as it may, this is just a brilliant filmmaker, and good God, Dano and Williams are fantastic. The kid is really good. And Rogen, by the way, who was so entertaining in Pam and Tommy and deserved all the accolades for his role in that miniseries about the unfortunate rock and roll couple, is good here as well.
They're out of other options. It's rescued many people from lives that would otherwise might be informed by problems. There are others who are drawn by patriotism and by wanting to serve the country. If you haven't seen the documentary, now I just spaced what it is. The guy who went to Afghanistan after 9/11. After 9/11, many were inspired to enroll in programs that either were pre-military or enlist as military people. And he's the former ball player. I can't believe it may be the best documentary I've ever seen. Pat Tillman. It's called The Tillman Story, I believe. And you'll find
Google it.
I'm pretty sure it's called that. And
he did not survive. Yeah,
he did not. But his story is a powerful one, and it's a complicated one. And oftentimes, those who've served in the military have complicated stories to tell. They're stories of patriotism, they're stories of sacrifice, and they're also stories of triumph. I think the Tillman story is a story with all of those things and more. Can you give me one more?
Sure. I had lower expectations, which may be why I was pleasantly surprised by how much I tolerated. That's right, tolerated. No, even enjoyed Spirited, a sort of offbeat take on Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. That's right, another one. Only here as a musical comedy starring, get this, Will Ferrell as the ghost of Christmas Present and Ryan Reynolds as the wildly amoral corporate public relations consultant that the ghost and his comrades are assigned to haunt and reform. So, the leads had decent chemistry, and the tunes by the Oscar, Grammy, and Tony-winning team of Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, the guys behind La La Land and Dear Evan Hansen, they were better than average modern Broadway fare with a couple of potentially memorable song and dance numbers. The one over the end credits might have been my favorite. And everybody sings, meaning we see Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds singing and dancing as, the lead characters, and some of the supporting players do as well. The movie runs a little long for its own good at a couple minutes over 2 hours. And I was waiting for the kitchen sink since so many other things pile up here. But you know what? It's pretty entertaining. The in-universe rules are klutzy and bend to the needs of the plot, but it provides enough unexpected turns and reversals to almost justify the length. And Ferrell and Reynolds in adversarial bro mode are supported by the always reliable Octavia Spencer. She sings as the PR guy's right-hand woman, and Tracy Morgan as the visually chilling but verbally funky ghost of Christmas Future. Yeah, he doesn't sing. Anyway, there's one brief unexpected cameo that was totally fitting. Spirited is one of those movies that I anticipate trashing and reluctantly end up endorsing to a point. They haven't reinvented the Christmas goose, although there are some Dickensian aspects that are approached in a relatively fresh way. It's family entertainment for the holidays with some laughs, a little heart-tugging, some clever moments, catchy melodies, an enthusiastic cast. Director and co-screenwriter Sean Anders, he hasn't made a classic here, but a home viewing with the family during the holidays will not be a lump of coal in your stocking and actually may deck your halls, Mark. It's in theaters this weekend and streaming on Apple TV next weekend. Kim, I think you and the family are going to enjoy Spirited.
Oh, how about that, Kim? You're going to like Spirited.
Cool. Thank you. Well, you already recommended Enola Holmes 2, and that was a hit last weekend. As a matter of fact, we watched it, and then I caught my daughter watching it again. So that was a good recommendation.
Wow.
So
very strong.
Okay, got it.
I do like that.
So he likes Spirited. It's in theaters. The Fabelmans, that's in theaters too. That's the Steven Spielberg-directed semi-autobiographical story. Liked it for its virtuosity, as I was saying before, in filmmaking, maybe more than the story, which doesn't really have a lot of twists and turns, you were saying. But Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, with the heart and emotion and the magic of Wakanda.
And Talokan, two kingdoms created by Ryan Coogler, the director and writer.
Yeah. It's not, no. Just because they have names like that doesn't mean we need to. Okay.
Hey, right. so many people have trouble saying Tena Huerta and Lupita Nyong'o. I do not.
You don't. You are number one. You can find him in the Marina Times. You can read his musings on music, on movies, on television, and also his musings on life.
Sure,
he's the coastal commuter.
MarinaTimes.com, everybody. But most importantly, here with Mark Thompson on the Friday morning rump.
Yes, and he comes and goes. What a rainbow! Bye-bye, Michael.